Hello and welcome back to One-on-One Shadowboxing. Have your say. Today we're here with Gino Divitini, who is the director of MGA, which is the Master Grocers Australia. And we're continuing our discussion on the issue of the duopoly, which is equals monopoly, Coles and Woolworths ruling the world in Australia on the grocery and liquor market. So when we stopped before the break, you said yes, you are lobbying very hardly now to the politicians to convince them something needs to be done before the 20% or so disappears from the market as independent. And we're going to be left with two companies and no choice in life.
Two
How
companies
do you do that?
Which equals one. Two companies which equals one. The duopoly, as you keep saying, equals a monopoly, so yes.
So how effective are you doing your lobbying? That's the question now.
Well, we believe that we're doing it very effectively. I think I mentioned just before the break that we've conducted a survey of over 1,000 randomly selected people throughout Australia. The thing with politicians, Tibor, is that you need data, you need facts and statistics for them to listen. So if you just go there and complain about competition, they want to see a report. They need something. So
instead of sitting down and start thinking, they need a report to see it.
They have to have a report.
That's very politician-like.
Exactly.
It's not like, common sense, because common sense, you don't need reports to know that 80% of the market controlled by two companies. It's not democratic, not helping the consumers, and it's not really encouraging the competition either. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't need to read a report. You should know it, guys, in Canberra and in WA as well, because it's not rocket science. Sorry. So well, apart from that, you're following the rules and regulations of real life, yes?
The protocol that we need to follow, because again, I mentioned that Josh de Bruin, our CEO, has had a number of meetings at Canberra, and it always comes out, we need a report, we need a report. So we've organised for that to happen, and we launched the report at our industry breakfast here in WA last Tuesday. And there were some very interesting findings in there. 75% of the people surveyed agreed that we cannot afford to lose the independent sector from the market.
So it's majority of the people on the street.
The people are saying that we need to do that. The difficulty we face is that they still shop with their feet, and 80% of the market goes to Coles and Woolworths. So
because of the size, it dominates. It's not easy to change that behaviour.
Yes.
But what can we do, and how can you fight the daily life and the daily war with these two? When you got the huge printed materials from Woolworths, including the liquors at the back, and you also got Coles, and these ones is going into each of the letterboxes of the shoppers. However, yours from IGA and Super IGA is also in the letterbox. And what I noticed this week, when I received that yesterday, that you now got a new weapon in the fight against monopoly. And that's called, we price match the major national supermarket chains, says in the Super IGA's headings at the bottom. Yes. So what does it mean? How can you match these two and the prices of these two?
Well, the Super IGA franchise throughout Australia will now match in excess of 2,000 lines, off-the-shelf lines, with Coles and Woolworths. So I'm not talking about lines that are in the catalogue, because I mean we do our own thing with that, Coles, Woolworths, or whatever. But shelf lines in excess of 2,000 lines are matched with Coles and Woolworths. So
how can you achieve that price matching?
Metcash have supported that program.
Who is Metcash?
Metcash is the wholesale supplier, and they also own the franchise of IGA, but they're our wholesaler. and they recognise.
So you're purchasing stuff from Metcash. You have to purchase
we
stuff.
purchase our grocery lines from Metcash. Yes,
and it's part of the contract of the franchise.
Of our franchise agreement. Yes.
Yes, but the franchise means all of these supermarkets are independently owned locally.
Correct. Metcash own the franchise, but the stores are owned independently. So Metcash don't own the stores as such, like Coles and Woolworths. Wesfarmers own Coles, Woolworths own Woolworths. We, as independents, are independently owned.
Okay. So you're purchasing your stuff from Metcash. So how Metcash is support this price matching war with the big supermarket chains?
How are they supporting it?
Yeah, how does it work?
They are subsidising us with our costs, so that we can remain competitive with the chains.
But how do you know what the prices in Woolies or Coles? You're running out in another store and will you check all the prices, or how does it happen?
Metcash will conduct weekly surveys to find out what the prices are and what those critical lines are.
And then setting up the prices for you guys, which is the match price.
Yes.
That simple as that.
And we change them weekly.
So how old is this sort of strategy you're employing?
Price match has been around in WA now for, I'd say, 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months.
And I would have to say it's been fairly effective.
So what sort of feedback you got from your shoppers in WA?
We don't generally get feedback like somebody coming in and saying, you know, this is a great thing that you're doing. We gauge it by our turnover and our customer count. They're the two
indicators,
suppose, key indicators that we would look at. And I think we would say that turnover is probably up slightly as a result of
the price matching.
Of price match, yes.
What can you do? What's the legality of making the home brand? I don't think Coles got the canola fields to produce the oil or the orchards for producing the olive oil, but they branding it as Coles canola, Coles olive oil, Coles milk. But Coles employees not milking the cows. So how the milk became Coles milk?
Well, they would have an arrangement with the supplier that they put their label on whatever that product is. So,
but the consumers may think it is a Coles milk, so that's coming from a reliable source, the biggest source of groceries, so we should buy Coles milk because it's cheaper and still Australian, and they don't know Coles not milking the cows. So is it a bit of misleading of that to have a brand? Because if I buy the Cadbury, I know Cadbury is in England. Rather, my Cadbury, unfortunately, produced in New Zealand. But I know it's Cadbury. Right. But Coles milk and Coles canola oil and Coles other things are nothing to do with Coles. It's just a stamp on it, which is falsely provides sort of comfort for the purchaser, thinking, that's a new Coles product coming in. We should buy that because it's cheaper and because it's Australian.
Well, Coles and Woolworths are both heavily promoting their home brands. So again, it's an arrangement. But
making again sure, guys, home brand is not mean they producing those things.
Correct.
They stamping it. So
they're labelling it with their
brand.
So
what is that? It's just a sort of misleading exercise for me. But more interesting, this week I find these two items in here. And this is not just misleading, it is preying on the target audience. Because these two products aiming the kids on the market, and you know what? The name of the apple and the pears are Coles Australian Disney Kids Apples. I mean, have we got a Disney orchard in Australia? And Disney is now shifted from filmmaking and entertainment into producing apples. And seems to me, these are same as any apples, because I know the brand of the apples, and it's nothing to do with Disney or a Disney orchard. So how can I sell for the kids a Disney Kids apple or pear from Australia? That's the biggest nonsense ever. Can we do that freely, misleading a vulnerable audience, a target audience of kids who couldn't even check, couldn't even know if the apples are growing on trees or in the shelf? What do you think?
Well, I can't comment on that because until you just showed me, I hadn't seen that. But I think I'd like to point out that it is actually a Coles catalogue and not an IGA catalogue.
No, not.
So, again, I would say that it's a target market. They're targeting the kids. Yeah,
but what is the consumer protection comes here?
I've never heard of an orchard called Disney. You know, they look like Bartlett pears to me, not Disney pears. But I dare say that they're targeting an audience. And are they doing anything illegal? Well,
if I rename the pear and the apple into Disney as a brand, that needs to be, you know, somehow justified by the origin of that apple or the pear. And it's not here, it's not justified. It's got a plastic bag which has got Disney figures on it to promote Disney, but nothing to do with the bag, nothing to do with the apples.
Correct.
Or nothing. So
the future has to be that, that we survive. You know, it's critical to the Australian market that we as independents survive, and we need the shoppers out there to support us in our fight against the duopoly, which equals monopoly, and shops at independent supermarkets.
Okay, guys, so let's make your shopping this weekend at the independent supermarkets, because they are the ones who want to look after you and want you to buy competitive prices. But the war is not yet been won. It's much likely on the side of losing it because of the big numbers. But if you really want to have and keep the independents on the feet, please shop at the independents. Thanks again, Gino, to coming in, and good luck for the war.
Thank you very much, Tibor, for having me. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Don't forget, next week, same channel, same time, shadow boxing. Have your say.